Oahu was just getting busier and busier and busier. He didn't want to live there anymore. He'd always loved the Big Island. He'd always come over here for vacation. So he wanted to have his own farm. My father was one of the first guys over on Oahu to start doing agritourism, which nobody had ever, who wanted to go to a farm for fun, basically. And he just fell in love with all the farming and all that kind of stuff. So we came over here and started growing a whole bunch of different things. We grow lettuce. We started apple orchard. I mean, not apple orchard, orchard. I think orchard, I think apple. And a whole bunch of other stuff. And he never really settled down on one thing, though. It was just kind of a working farm. He was still in the tourism industry. My grandmother was an orchid grower over on Oahu as a hobbyist, and she had a vanilla vine in her backyard. And she said, hey, you know, I don't think anyone else is doing vanilla in Hawaii. You should really think about getting into it. And he just kind of fell in love with the whole idea. Nobody else was doing vanilla. He'd be the first one doing it. And so he kind of threw himself into that, and it just took off, basically, in his mind. He got a lot of support from the University of Hawaii. He got a lot of support from a lot of orchid growers and orchid societies here. So they kind of gave him a lot of information, and that helped him grow out. And so we kind of fast forward to today. We now fluctuate between 1,000 and 3,000 plants, which is very large for Hawaii. A lot of people thought we would never get there, just because labor costs are so high. Vanilla is the second hardest crop to grow in the world, next to saffron, due to hand pollination. All right, every single flower has to be hand pollinated, and that flower only blooms for 4 hours one time a year. Okay, so it's really difficult. But through automation and computerization and just a whole bunch of other stuff, like our biggest thing is the whole growth process is pretty much all done by computers now. Now this is the way my father likes to grow them, because my father, being that typical farmer, feels that he needs to be connected with the plants, he needs to be always around them, physically working with them. That's just not economical for us. So the greenhouses, which are about 1,000 feet lower than us still, we aren't going there today, but if you see that far tree line, they're literally right there, right, that far tree line down towards there. They have foliar feeder systems that hang from the ceiling, about 500 humidity sensors inside a 30,000 square foot greenhouse. All right, so they'll walk in, they'll plug a computer in, and he'll get a reading off the humidity, and he'll be able to set the humidity based off what's going on inside the greenhouse. Vanilla is a primarily epiphytical plant, meaning they primarily feed through the air. So feeding them with the foliar feeders is really the only way to go. We do a mixture of fish emulsion normally, and then we do compost tea, all organic stuff that goes on the plants. Vanilla is an extremely fragile orchid. You can't spray any chemicals on it, so you have to grow it organically. And as I was telling these other folks up there, vanilla vines need to be stressed to get them to flower. And that's why, that's the purpose of the greenhouse. Okay, normally in most countries you cut the water out of their system. Here in Hawaii, that's pretty much impossible, as we're experiencing right now. So, and we have no dry season, no set dry season here in Hawaii, so we cut the nutrients out of the air inside the greenhouse to get them to flower. I apologize for the rain. It's just a mist. So it doesn't get any harder than that. All right, anyway. Cool. Shade houses do not offer any protection. My father loves shade houses though, partially because greenhouses, yeah, they keep moisture out. They also trap a lot of moisture in. All right, #1 killer of vanilla vines on our farm is mold or fungus. So it's a constant cleaning cycle when we're inside the greenhouses. Shade houses, you really got none of this problem. Plenty of airflow. And yeah, so he eventually probably will move to shade houses, which will cause us to relearn everything we've already done. But I think this is the future. It's much more inexpensive to maintain, and he can grow a lot more inside here. This system that we're looking at right here is the same exact system we have down inside the greenhouses. Raised bed. This was totally developed by my father, because Hawaii, as I said, is extremely unique. He went to Central America, and they grow them in pots, right? Because they have a dry season there, so they have to retain moisture around the plants. We don't have that here. Raised bed system made out of the same shade material the shade house is made out of. Offers excellent drainage. We put a mixture of redwood bark and coconut husk down around the base of the plants. That retains moisture for the vanilla to drink off of. All the excess moisture flushes right out the bottom. As the vanilla starts to, because it is a vine, right, as it starts to grow up the pole, we'll normally coat the pole with